Hello, YouTubers. It's November 15th, and I'm going to do my usual kind of weaving together of more than one theme. But themes that you'll remember or recognize if you coast through this channel a lot. In other words, it's the same themes I usually bring up, but this time I'm going to emphasize one of the themes I don't emphasize all that much, I don't think. I'm kind of off the cuff here, but the Quaker angle. I identify as Quaker, pronouns he, him, and this is, you could call it my page. It's currently not signed in, so this is what you would see too through navigation. You could find yourself to this page, and it would take you back through a lot of stuff that I've engaged in a lot of postings here, often in dialogue, right? So it's a way to see over my shoulder how I am in conversation with other Quakers, what I sort of am interested in bringing up, stuff like that. And here's the thing, let me tell you just one story about how I've worked on concepts relating to Quakerism. For example, this concept of membership. And I've been a member through this Multnomah monthly meeting, right? However, what became important for me to test or figure out or sort of work on is this concept of secrecy, transparency. How much are Quakers like, say, Mormons in having certain levels, or many religions? Let's say the Mithraic, let's say the Masons. There are certain levels where you don't get to be there and participate in the ritual. It's not none of your business if you're not already at a certain level. In other words, you don't get to be a rank outsider and sit in on rituals A, B, and C because there's a lot of secrecy, or we could just call it privacy, that's taken for granted in these different religions. And I was trying to think, how could Quakers be different in that respect? And one process that we have is how to become a member. And what is a member? Well, briefly, the process is, at least in our meetings, you write a letter expressing your wish and your intent to become a member to what was then called the Oversight Committee, and I believe that that would not be proper nomenclature these years later. But let's just do it in the jargon of the day. And the Oversight Committee would convene a Clearness Committee with some people you may have already chosen. And by convention, that would usually be a committee of only members by convention. But what I wanted to see is, why can't a non member somewhat audit the whole process, not just audit, but be a part of? In other words, the fact that this other person wants to become a member and I'm not a member, I don't want to be a member, let's say, but I'm still very interested in this whole process. Maybe as a result of observing it, I will want to become a member. Is there any aspect of Quakerism that they close off to me, the non member, in terms of, like, I have very high interest in Quakers, but I'm not about to join an organization that walls off important aspects of itself to outsiders. On principle, I want an open source designer. I want a religion designed to be open source. Let's just say that's my position as a non member. Will they still, nevertheless, allow me to participate on their maybe most intimate process? Can I be on their oversight committee, the one I just mentioned? And can I be on a clearness committee for membership for some other person wanting to become a member? Can I comfortably, and can I be accepted, at even it's considered appropriate, that I could be on a clearness for membership committee even though I'm not a member? And this was a very interesting question for me. I wanted to see, I thought, sure, that seems perfectly fine. There's no reason. It's like in anthropology, like, there's no reason the anthropologist should be kicked out of this or that ceremony. He's here to study, she's here to study. This is critical for her career. Let's let him, her sit in on whatever. It's not our problem. We're not secret. So I could see that being a debate, though. There would be another faction that's, oh no, how dare we? The gods would be angry if we let an outsider like that. But maybe we trust this particular person, this anthropologist has lived among us for years. You see where I'm going with this, right? Okay, I'm going to kind of switch gears here. So I'll just finish by saying how I addressed that question is I stopped being a member myself. I resigned being my membership self, but everyone knows me there, and I continued to work on committees at a high level of participation. So I didn't change anything about myself really, except I became this experienced friend, they called me, who was now a non member, and I was allowed to convene clearness committees and do this whole thing I'm just describing. I could observe this process as a non member. Now, that sounds like cheating, right? Because I've already been a member, and so I'm kind of a pseudo non member almost. So, but I made a point of having other people join me on the committee who were also not members, right? So I was continuing that experiment. Another experiment I did just briefly was I became chief of regional IT, one of two co-clerks at first, and then the other one resigned. And that was a whole, I don't know, I wanted to make this sort of splash as someone who believed that Quakerism and IT could go hand in glove. Like we could become known as a religious sect, kind of like maybe Amish are known for furniture or something, or is that anyway, or jellies and jams, or certain churches are known for their beer or whatever. Quakers could get into IT in a big way. So I kind of role model this guy obsessed with IT and creates this Google group where I just talk about the meaning of the null value and stuff like that, SQL. Like I start just behaving like that these other people have any interest at all in database jargon and stuff like that. I just get really annoying to some people because of this experiment I'm doing. So I don't last my full term, but these are not paid jobs. This is kind of role playing, and you grow in them as a person. So I respect Quakerism in that sense. That it's kind of like the Est stuff was. You're not being paid, but you are being challenged, and there is a lot of personal growth available to you if you take it seriously to some degree. And I certainly did the Quaker stuff. I wasn't just, playing with people these are important doctrinal, you could say, ideological, or they help shape the religion, at least in my view. But I have to remember to document what I do too. So it's partly what I'm doing here. So I've been scrolling through some Bernoulli related stuff. I just wanted to end by saying out there in the Math for Wisdom list, hosted by Andreas in Lithuania, we're really diving deep into some higher math. He's picked up on my interest in Bernoulli numbers. This is Andreas Kulakauskas, right? And there's quite a bit about him already in my YouTube channel and blogs. So he's into all about polynomials and stuff. And so I get into polynomials from the angle of generator functions and what those are all about, and how sometimes like the coefficients that go with those generator functions are sometimes Hermite, Bernoulli. There's these different like proper names that get in there as generators of certain coefficients and stuff. Bernoulli numbers pop up in connection with polynomials, in other words. And my angle on this is more like, how do I make this a Jupyter notebook, and how do I work out with SymPy, NumPy, pandas, and do some plots and show off this set of tools without saying, hey, look at me, I'm super expert on all this Bernoulli stuff. That's not the point. I'm not really showing off. I am opening doors for those who wish to master a certain tool set. I want to bring that tool set within view and within reach. Like the little programs here aren't that hard. They aren't that long. Like I'm making use of NumPy's ability to not even write for loops. Like look at this, how short that is. This is the new style, right? Kind of, for me, it comes from APL and stuff, early experience. I mean, I've taken to this like a fish to water, you could say. So, good fun, and it's kind of nerdy, and that's kind of how I am with the Quakers, too. I'm a Quaker nerd. And in that sense, Quakers is like Subgenius. It's friendly to nerds, always has been. So thank you. And from my mythology, as you may know, I'm worried that Camtasia might suddenly um, cut out. It's done that a couple times. So I'm going to make this short before I lose the whole recording, if that's going to happen. But in my mythology, a nerd is a larval form of a geek. And we can describe that later. But a geek is a very social animal, whereas a nerd is kind of ugly duckling phase. Maybe not at all physically, but self-image wise, confidence level, all that. But when you blossom as a nerd, you'll become a geek. That's just my terminology. Don't take it to heart, and don't expect other people to know what you're talking about. If you talk the way I do, don't expect to get special treatment at parties. I don't know what. I warn you against trying to sound like me. It's not going to get you anywhere necessarily. All right, but have fun anyway, talking like you, and I'll see you in the next video.